Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
Good evening, I'm Anna Manuel. $60 million is being poured into the state of New York to help people with their heating bills. Big Fox's Maggie Hall tells us more about how the federal government may help you heat your home this winter.
Sadly, many low-income families have to choose in the winters between putting food on the table and keeping the heat on. With a rising cost of essentials recently, along with a bump in heat prices as high as 25%, there will be a strain on low-income households. Senator Gillibrand announced yesterday in Elmira that $60 million would be designated to help New Yorkers heat their homes this winter. This will be done through the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program, otherwise known as LIHEAP.
I really want to talk a little bit about the weather today. As you know, it's getting colder. And as it gets colder and as the nights get longer, a lot of our families are concerned about heating their homes. Every family in this county, in this region, should be able to have a safe, warm home to sleep at every night.
I asked Chemung County Commissioner of Human Services Brian Hart on how he feels the available funding will impact the quality of life for families in the southern tier.
Well, I think it has great potential positive impact. Winters are tough already, but if they're having to choose between do I pay my heat and electric bill or do I buy groceries for myself and my family, we'd prefer to be able to make sure that they have at least some assistance in this case.
To apply or get more information on the LIHEAP program, visit benefits.gov/benefit/1534. Maggie Hall, Big Fox News, Southern Tier.
A fire has destroyed a home in Elmira. 1050 McGee Street has been deemed unlivable by local authorities after a fire consumed most of the first and second floor. That fire happened around 7 last night. Firefighters report that the house was unoccupied at the time. Today, officials could be seen securing the door to the residence for safety and security reasons. The cause of the fire is unknown and an investigation is ongoing. One person is dead after drowning in Ithaca Falls. Ithaca police reported that the victim, Harish Nekalapu, fell into the base of the falls while trying to take a picture. Officers say that the 35-year-old victim had been pulled out of the water by bystanders when they arrived. That victim was transported to Cayuga Medical Center, where he later died from his injuries. Gas prices continue to fluctuate after the massive rise earlier this year. So, where is gas at its highest and lowest in the Twin Tiers? Big Fox's Josh Feldberg tells us.
Earlier this year, gas prices in some areas across the country were at an all-time high. Some places across the Twin Tiers were near $5 a gallon. The rise in price of the near essential commodity put many people under financial stress for months. Gas prices are beginning to fall back to a more manageable rate. However, gas stations as close as 10 miles away can differ in price by nearly 30 cents per gallon. According to data published by AAA, the national average for gas is $3.92 per gallon. In Pennsylvania, the average price for gas is around $3.93, as prices have been back on the rise in the state over the last couple of weeks. While the prices in Pennsylvania may be around the national average, it's far more than what people are paying just across state lines. Right along the Pennsylvania-New York border on I-99, you can find an Exxon station where gas is $3.85. Just 10 miles north near Irwin, New York, you can find 2 stations with pumps charging almost 30 cents less.
Gas prices are holding here in New York. After the massive rise a few months ago, families are finding less financial strain at the pump now than they were this summer.
New York gasoline is averaging out to $3.66 a gallon. Here in the southern tier, you can find stations with prices close to $3.50 per gallon. If you're looking to save on gas, pumps here in the southern tier are some of the cheapest around the country according to AAA. With other necessities like home heating expected to rise, finding the right places to save on other commodities like gas can help the strain on your family's budget. Josh Feldberg, Big Fox News, Corning.
The Steuben County Department of Social Services is warning residents against a food stamp scam. The online scam falsely alerts recipients that they're eligible for assistance. The scam appears in emails like this and asks people to click on links. The county DSS informs residents that official emails will come from SteubenCountyNY.gov or ny.gov. Residents are warned to not click on any links or reply to emails that seem suspicious. New York drivers can replace peeling license plates for free. The New York DMV announced drivers can replace their peeled plate with the next available plate number for free. Those wishing to do so can email the DMV with their name, address, old plate number, and a picture of the plate. If you want to keep your same plate number, you will have to have included a $20 check. We're learning more about a carbon monoxide leak at a daycare that sent multiple children to the hospital in Pennsylvania. Garrett Tenney has more.
More than 24 kids and at least 4 adults rushed to the hospital after a carbon monoxide leak at a daycare center in Pennsylvania. It happened Tuesday morning at Happy Smiles Learning Center in Allentown. First responders were called in to help an unconscious child when an atmosphere monitor attached to a medical bag went off, alerting EMS of high levels of carbon monoxide. The daycare was immediately evacuated, but kids and adults inside were already showing minor to moderate symptoms of CO poisoning.
Everyone that was transported was stable. They were showing different levels of exposure, which is why EMS set up triage right away.
Victims were rushed to 4 area hospitals for treatment. All are reportedly in stable condition, including the unconscious child.
It's tricky with carbon monoxide. It's flu-like symptoms. You'd be nauseous, headache, maybe dizziness.
The CO leak was reportedly caused by a malfunctioning heating unit and a blocked venting system. Staff inside didn't realize there was an issue because there were no carbon monoxide detectors on site. The incident comes just weeks before a new city ordinance requiring CO monitors goes into effect.
I do not know for certain, but I'm under the impression right now that they did not have carbon monoxide monitors. Obviously, they would be required to starting October 27.
Authorities are now using the incident as a reminder to the public about the dangers of carbon monoxide poisoning.
This is an opportunity for everybody to check on your smoke detectors and your carbon monoxide monitors in your home.
The daycare will remain shut down until a full investigation is complete. In Chicago, I'm Garrett Tenney, Fox News.
President Biden now says a recession is possible. If it happens, he says it will be, in his words, slight. But the markets have been on a roller coaster, and as Doug Luzader reports from Washington, new inflation numbers are out today.
The Producer Price Index today gives us a read on what's called wholesale inflation as rising prices continue to be a potent political issue. Prices continue to rise for just about everything. So should Americans brace for even more bad news? A recession ahead?
No. Look, they've been saying this now every 6 months they say this.
We've already seen 2 consecutive quarters of negative economic growth, a traditional definition of a recession. But in a rare sit-down interview with CNN, the president downplayed concerns.
If it is, it'll be a very slight recession. That is, we'll move down slightly. Look, think about what's happened. We have done more. We're in a better position than any other major country in the world, economically and politically.
But even before today's new price data, the head of the Cleveland Fed, who helps set interest rates, said inflation may not have even peaked.
There's been no progress on inflation. Inflation readings have persisted at the highest levels in 40 years.
And a big contributor to that, gas prices. And the president says he's considering taking action against Saudi Arabia after OPEC recently decided to cut oil production.
I'm not going to get into what I'd consider and what I have in mind, but there will be consequences.
And tomorrow we get another read on inflation when the Consumer Price Index is released for September. In Washington, Doug Luzader, Fox News.
Fall's favorite fruit may be in low supply due to extreme weather conditions. That story plus your forecast coming up.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
though the fall foliage has definitely started to show off its colors. Now, one thing to note is that when the trees start to show these colors, this is actually those leaves dying off. And when we have some strong winds that are associated with a cold front that's moving through, a lot of these trees that have that vibrant color are going to lose their leaves. So hopefully you took today to take advantage of the beautiful weather, as over the last few days we've been making these improvements. Now, we topped off just around 72 degrees on our Tuesday and just flirted with that 70-degree threshold today. But the changes have started to be felt with that increasing cloud cover. And as we step into the morning hours, you're going to need the umbrella. But be careful with the umbrella, because what we'll see is that breezy conditions will be around early in the morning, as that breezy wind is going to actually tell you that the frontal system is passing on through the area. So we're going to have an earlier arrival, which is going to limit our risk for severe weather. Still could hear a few rumbles of thunder, but pretty much of the day is going to remain on the rainier side. Some dissipation late on Thursday, and then we will bring in some clear skies as we head into our Friday, but it is going to be some cool sunshine. We're going to see that this frontal system has some strong cold air advection sitting with it. So across much of the Midwest, now spreading into the Northeast, these temperatures are trending to be below average, and we're going to stay under an active weather pattern. Another frontal system is going to make its approach as we step towards the end of the weekend and keep us rainy into early next week. So looking at the breeze potential, we still have a southerly wind, which is going to keep our morning temperatures a little bit more mild. Might even still see 60s possible in the morning hours. But that warm breeze gusting upwards of 30 miles per hour again is going to be that initiation of that frontal system moving through. So by 7 a.m., those showers are going to start to be a bit more isolated and scattered, and then it will become more widespread as we step towards the middle of the middle of the morning into the middle of the afternoon. Start to see some dissipation as we head towards about sunset. Still a few light showers through the overnight, but then we should have some drier weather as we head into our Friday morning. So you can leave the umbrella at home on Friday, but keep track of that for your Thursday. Rainfall accumulation looking to give us a good dosing across the area, anywhere from about at least a half an inch. Some isolated locations getting upwards of an inch, especially that time frame from the mid-morning into the early afternoon could bring in some rates upwards of a half an inch to an inch per hour, especially if we can see that system set up with some of that warm breeze. It can be a little unstable and fuel those lines of storm. So we'll keep an eye on some maybe ponding on the roadways and some isolated flooding concerns. But as mentioned, with a little bit of that southerly wind early in the day, that does keep us at least near seasonal at about 63 degrees into Elmira. But then behind that frontal system is when some cooler air drops in. We see anywhere from those mid-50s to those lower 60s in store. We'll continue to keep some sunshine as we step into that Saturday forecast, near seasonal temperatures there. But then as we start to work in that wet weather starting on Sunday, those temperatures start to fall, and they gradually fall and even bring in the potential that we could have some wintry mix with that precipitation as temperatures stay below average into the middle of next work week.
A potential new classification for gig workers in the U.S. More Americans are struggling to pay their bills on time, and a new holiday drink hits store shelves. CJ Papa has those stories and more in today's Business Briefs.
The Biden administration proposing a new rule that could reclassify millions of gig workers as employees, a move that would deal a big blow to small businesses across the country. The new proposal from the Labor Department would make it more difficult for companies to classify their workers as independent contractors. If classified as employees, businesses would then be required to provide certain legal protections, including minimum wage, overtime, and unemployment insurance. Businesses say their operation costs would surge if this rule passes. A new survey revealing nearly a third of Americans are struggling to pay their bills on time due to inflation. The Lending Tree survey finding about 1/3 of Americans have paid at least one bill late within the last 6 months, with most saying they fell behind on a utility bill, credit card payment, cable, or internet bill. Meanwhile, as the holiday season approaches, many Americans are feeling that financial stress building. A survey of 1,000 people by Groupon claims 40% of Americans are worried about finding gifts for friends and family, with 63% saying they are concerned about the economy and inflation. More than 80% also say they plan to spend more on experiences this year, and about a third choosing beauty and wellness treatments or services for other people. And Lego, my Eggo Nog. Breakfast company Kellogg's is partnering up with Sugarland's Distilling Company, releasing a new holiday drink. It's a rum-based liqueur with a hint of cinnamon and nutmeg. Eggo Nog will be available at select retailers across the country throughout the holidays. That's business. I'm CJ Papa.
America's apple production could hit its lowest level in almost a decade due to the weather. Almost 70% of the nation's apples come from Washington state, but farmers there are having a tough time this year. Jake Karalexis is at an orchard with more.
In mid-October, the trees in this orchard are usually full of apples. But after a cold, wet spring, followed immediately by a hot, dry summer, this year, the trees are pretty much empty. And farms are feeling the strain.
We're down big time this year, big time.
Only a few apples are left on the trees of Swan's Trail Farms in Washington state.
It was a variety of different things that made this season such a difficult season dating back to, the year before.
Krause says 2 straight summers of high temperatures and drought have put a dent in this year's supply.
This year we lost about 60% of our crop, comparable to the year past by the amount of apples we took off of our trees.
It's more than just the heat. Washington also had a cold and rainy spring, limiting the amount of pollen in the air which apple trees need.
You had some frosts and some cold weather that impacted pollination and is expected to reduce production.
And some farmers are having trouble making ends meet.
It's really putting a lot of these small family growers on the cusp.
Krause's farm increased their apple prices this year to $3.50 a pound, up from $3 a pound, to make up for the smaller supply. They're hoping that's the last increase they'll have to make.
In farming, you're just gonna have those years, and you can only you have to weather yourself, for those bad years.
Krause says people can usually come out any time between mid-September and mid-October to pick apples from the orchard. But this year, they only had enough apples for 3 days of picking. In Snohomish, Washington, Jake Karalexis, Fox News.
Still ahead, a toddler who's been hospitalized since birth was finally able to go home for the first time. More on his journey and how his family and hospital staff helped make this day possible. They spent more than a day out in the open ocean after their boat sank, battling sharks and fighting for survival. Marianne Rafferty has the latest on how 3 fishermen beat the odds and made it out alive.
They were too tired to even be panicking.
It's a harrowing tale of survival after a fishing boat sank in the Gulf of Mexico over the weekend, roughly 25 miles off the coast of Louisiana, hurling the 3 men on board into the open ocean. This Coast Guard footage showing their incredible rescue.
This is what we do, we train twice a week, usually with boat crew, and it proved to be fruitful.
The boat went down Saturday around 10 a.m. 2 of the survivors, hanging on to coolers tied together, battled several sharks that began circling them Sunday morning. One man says a shark took a bite out of his life jacket before he used his hands to jab its eyes.
We were very grateful to get on board the boat, get out of the water, get away from the wildlife.
Wearing a life vest, the 3rd man swam away to find help. Miraculously, he found cell phone service in the water and used it to send a Google Map location to a friend right before his phone died. That map location making its way to the Coast Guard Sunday, who were already searching for the men in an area larger than Rhode Island after one of their wives reported them missing.
Once that first guy came out of the water, he had no idea if his other 2 friends were alive or dead. So when he saw us hoist up his second buddy, all they did was hug and embrace, and they saw their 3rd buddy come up. And then they knew all 3 of them had survived.
All 3 men just made it home from the hospital Tuesday. Coast Guard officials are crediting their will to survive and their life jackets for them making it out alive. Marianne Rafferty, Fox News.
One Chicago family is overjoyed to finally bring their child home from the hospital after 3 years. Their son was diagnosed with a rare medical condition that had kept him hospitalized since birth. Sally Schulze has more on the story of this brave little boy and the family and medical staff who helped make this day possible.
I'm Sally Schulze on Chicago's South Side. Here at La Rabida Children's Hospital, this is the day one local family has been waiting for years. The day their toddler finally gets to check out of the hospital and head home for the very first time. There were lots of cheers and more than a few tears as Francesco Bruno left La Rabida Hospital earlier today, finally heading to his home in Oak Lawn. He's 2 years, 10 months old and has been hospitalized since birth due to a rare form of skeletal dysplasia. It's a category of genetic disorders that specifically impacts his ribs, making it difficult for his lungs to grow properly. So he's had multiple surgeries, lots of therapy, lots of help. He's now ready for the next step, seeing his house and so much more for the first time.
Very overjoyed, very, very happy, and ready to start a new chapter, a new adventure.
I think as a team, we've poured so much love and effort into Francesco and his development, and this is the goal for all of our kids, but it's always bittersweet to have them leave and, move on to their next adventure.
Francesco gets quite a welcome home in Oak Lawn. His 6 siblings there to greet him. At La Rabida Children's Hospital, Sally Schulze, Fox 32, Chicago.
Stay with us. We'll have more right after this. We want to leave you with a smile. Build-A-Bear says it's bringing back a fan-favorite collaboration. The retail company announced a Hello Kitty collection is on the way, but did not release further details so far. I'm Scott Beadle. Thanks so much for watching.